We're going to talk to Michael Douglas about acting, because I think in this role as Dan Gallagher, you have got one of the toughest challenges of all. You've got to keep so much underneath. I liken it to Maurice Jarre's score, where sometimes there's a low tone that sort of underscores a whole scene. In this movie, you have your own low tone, I guess. How would you describe that technique?
Well, it's you have to deal with a lot of repression. And one of the challenges for me in the part, which was sort of frustrating, was because he has to keep his information away from his wife, there was a constant underpinning, which can get frustrating, you know, because you really want to kind of blow. But I think the hardest or the most interesting part for me, John, this was a part that was sort of very close to me, and sometimes as an actor it's truly more difficult to play a part where you just have to trust yourself rather than doing a character where you get to create and can kind of hide behind it. And
or it can be broad brush.
Or can also exactly.
But not here.
No, and so basically it was my trust with Adrian Lyne, and there were times when I felt, oh, I got to do something. He says, don't worry, you know, don't worry, it's there. And I think that Adrian has a wonderful subtlety, and what appears to be happening with Fatal Attraction is that it makes the audience kind of lean in, you know, to find these little things and see and search out, rather than a lot of movies where you're like bombarded and you're almost like as an audience sort of protecting yourself from coming up from the onslaught.
Well, if you'll pardon this analogy, it's a little bit like being in a dental chair and not knowing when that dentist is going to hit a nerve, because it's like we are an exposed nerve, and you throughout the picture may touch it sometimes.
You're right.
You kind of go forward and then draw back a bit. It's
I also enjoyed it. This is the first time in a while where I haven't been producing as well as acting, and I find it very important sometimes to close your concentration off from all of the superfluous things that you are involved with when you're producing.
Was it nice to cast off that baggage for a while?
It really is, and it really gives you a chance as an actor to grow. And one of the nice things about acting is that it's an ongoing process, and you're continuing to find out more things about yourself. You're continuing to find out more things about technique.
Yeah, why do I think maybe this is one of the seminal films in your acting career? Why do I think that somehow? Is it that internalized?
Well, I think it's hopefully it's another step, another growth, and I think that it's a part, as I said, that's pretty close to me. And when you're on screen for almost the entire length of the film, as I am, and you gain enough confidence that you don't feel like you have to do anything more, you get more of a sense of presence. And so I enjoyed it a lot. I really did.
I'm wondering, in involving you and your father in watching your respective work, what is it he seeks out from you? You now are in this business. You can give him the kind of criticism and direction maybe that he used to give you as your dad. You know, but are the tables turned now? Can you feed him?
Well, we share information back and forth. I think I always try to find a picture that has a really good story. Some actors only worry about their part and forget about the whole. And even if I'm only acting in the picture, I look at the whole picture and see if I think it really works before I really address my part. And I think my father had an extraordinary presence and energy, and what I've been trying to learn to do is to trust your own presence without having to push sometimes a lot.
Did he ever relate something like that to you? Was there anything along the line that he
well, what he told me actually was in college when I first started, and in college it's wonderful. You get to play parts that you'll never get to play again when you're a professional, because there are other actors who are more like it. And I did a pretty decent job in some crazy play or character, and then I did Desire Under the Elms. I played the part of Eben, which didn't work out very well. And my father said, remember, he said, it's always harder to play yourself, and you got to learn to trust yourself, because none of us think that we're that interesting, and you always are worried that you have to do something. And I remembered that a lot.
Maybe some of that secret is in this role as Dan Gallagher.
Yeah, I did hear him echoing that to me a few times while I was doing the picture.
Because you're not a social prophet, you're not an athlete, you're not a
Right.
swashbuckler,
Right.
you're somebody we should recognize. They keep saying, Dan Gallagher made a mistake with this weekend with this woman. Is it really a mistake? You're vulnerable like all of us. Knowing the consequences, maybe you would have done it anyway. Who knows?
Oh, I think so, but under the rules of matrimony, whenever you have an affair, it's definitely a mistake.
But the trick is we can identify with
That was what I was
temptation.
excited about, John, was that the audience in this case, rather than looking at some dramatic picture that's afar, could look at it and say, no, I understand that. No, that makes sense. It's probably what would have happened to me. And I think that simplicity is the sense that is what is attracting people to it,
Yeah.
bringing them closer where they can identify both with the family and with the affair.
Meanwhile, I think you found that low, quiet musical tone that can underscore an entire role
Oh, well-
and drive us crazy in the result as
Well,
well.
thank you, John.
It's a scary picture. And we're talking to Michael Douglas, Fatal Attraction. I'm here in New York City. John Tibbetts for KCTV5.